Barely at quorum.
Oops. There we go. There's the agenda. All right. Here's the info on closed captioning. All right. So call to order. Do a roll call. Get the right file. Here we go. Roll call. Aaron on Artiega.
Present.
Perfect. Anna Bieliakova. Not here. Alina DeGrado.
Present.
Larissa Gladding. Not here. Mitchell Henke.
Present.
Thank you. Montavious Jones.
Here.
Thank you. Kathleen Minnick.
Here.
Thank you. Ben Teal. Not here. And Barry Weber.
Present.
Perfect. Thanks, Barry. Oh, sorry. And Kevin Kushel.
Present.
There we go.
Hi, is this the bike?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
You're in the right place.
Welcome. We're just doing some roll call right now. Stephen Owen.
Here.
Perfect. All right. All right, and I think Montavious, I pass it to you at this point.
Yeah, we can start with the minutes from last month.
Should I do like?
Oh yeah. I hope everybody's had a chance to review the minutes from last month. Is there a motion to? Is it approve the minutes?
Mm-hmm.
Approve the minutes.
I motion to approve.
Second.
I can second.
Thank you.
Hearing none opposed. Passes.
So ordered.
So ordered. I was thinking,
I don't
what do
know.
they say? What do they say at the committee meetings? Okay. It's my understanding that, well, one, thank you all for being here. Very good to see all of you in person and online. Full agenda today. So everybody come ready to discuss. I've got a lot of stuff on my mind and I want to run it past you guys and see where you're at in it as well. But first on the agenda is Brady Street, I believe. So is Rachel Taylor? Oh, hey. Hey, why don't you come up? You can come up to the table. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah, first of all, my deepest apologies on being tardy. It's very bad driving weather. I'm sure you're all aware. My name is Rachel Taylor. I'm the executive director for the Brady Street bid. And we are looking at pedestrianizing the area from Franklin to Warren. We're conducting the study now with TKWA and Grafe with support from our alderman, Jonathan Brostoff. In fact, that's who I was talking to, part of the reason I was late. And I'm very excited about this project. I think it could be something that is really strong for the area. My background is that I lived in England for 6 years in a very small town. I became accustomed to parking in one place and doing my shopping and everything I needed to do in town in another, and then walking back to the car. And it struck me during my time there that I noticed that obesity was significantly less, health issues were significantly less, like asthma and other bronchial issues, because people were moving around more. There was less opportunity to use a car. Cars are extraordinarily expensive there. Petrol was $10 a gallon when I lived there. So you learned how to work around it. Mass transit was extremely important. All of those aspects were important to offset the use of cars. One of the things I did not look forward to when I moved back to Milwaukee was the fact that, and no disrespect to Milwaukee because I love it and I was born here, but it's not a beautiful city. There's a lot of car-centric aspects to the city that take away from its beauty. And I see that those things could be improved and we could have a higher quality of life if we were to reduce our dependency on cars and provide more mass transit options that were made available to everybody in a way that was financially accessible and far more efficient. I can't take the bus from where I live on the south side and get to the north side in under 3 hours. That's not a feasible option for me to take. I have to use a car. I would like that to change. And I know that that holds back lots of other people who don't have the income that I do. And that's not fair. We need to create more equality if we want to actually bring this, in my opinion, if we want to bring the city up to having actual equality in all the areas. Because of my position as the executive director of Brady Street, this is where I can do the work that I'm working on. I can't do it in other areas. I'm not a part of them. But I would love to see stuff like this extended to other areas of the city because I think it would be beneficial for those areas to reduce their car dependency and provide a better, healthier quality of life. And I'm happy to answer any questions you have in regards to where we are in the study, what is the ultimate goal, and what's going on. But that's just a little bit of the background and where I'm coming from.
Could you go into that, please? Like the background and like where you currently are?
In the study?
In the study, yeah.
I put together a panel of called the Pedestrian Committee. It's made up of business owners, property owners, residents. It spans ages from mid-20s to 70s. It spans various racial groups and experiences. And it also spans people who are very opposed to the concept and people who are extremely in favor of it. Because I wanted to make sure we had a cross-section that could give good feedback. And my thinking was if I can get the people who are hyper opposed, if I can get them on board, it's going to be a lot easier to convince other people who are also opposed. So putting this committee together, we drew up an RFP that was that I had reviewed by Kate and Mike with DPW to ensure that everything was good with the city. And then we put it out to 10 firms and we got 4 companies in 2 came together to present proposals. We reviewed those proposals and I have recused myself from voting on the panel in the pedestrian committee because I wanted the decisions to come from the people in the area who are directly affected. I don't live there, I just work there. So that committee then looked at the 2 proposals. I asked them some very difficult questions and to make sure that they were happy with the decision, they decided to go with TKWA and Grafe. And since that time, we have moved forward with them. We've had our first meeting. We are anticipating that we should have 4 plans from Grafe and TKWA by May 31st. That's part of our contract. They're going to be looking at everything from an extreme of absolutely no cars and buses on the road to it continuing to be an open street, but with modifications. And they're going to do a couple things in between or some variation between that, just so that there's some options for us to look at. I'm receiving a lot of opposition from certain people who are very well connected. So I have to make sure that any arguments that we create going forward is airtight, that we've looked at everything and that we've considered all of the various impositions. So traffic is a big one that we're looking at. How will traffic be rerouted? What can we do with design to ensure that traffic is not rerouted into the residential area? Because I understand their concerns about having massive semis going through their private streets. And I'm also working with Bob Schneider's class at UWM, his urban planning class. They are doing research into other pedestrian zones in the United States and Canada and looking at what was successful and not successful as examples so that we can use those as more evidence as to what we're going to end up doing. The students will then be creating their projects and creating posters that will discuss what they've looked at and the results of their studies. And I want to be able to put those posters up like at Brady Street Festival and our other events so that people can start to get an understanding of what pedestrianization means, how we are taking a deep look at it, and we're acknowledging these are the places where maybe it struggled and they had to revert back. These are the places where it was successful. And this is the kind of thing that we could be doing in the future. I asked them to specifically look at areas that had similar climate. Something in Austin is not going to be a good convincing argument for something in Milwaukee. It has to have the same climate, the same density. And it's okay if it wasn't successful because we can learn from that as well. It doesn't always have to be super successful. And what I'm going to do to piggyback on that is do some economic research to understand what the impact of economic development was as a result of the pedestrianization, whether it was positive or negative. And I'll add that to their reports as another layer of information in that, because that's going to be crucial in getting the businesses on board. So we're putting all these things together. We're working on them concurrently, and I'm hoping to have something to take to the public by the beginning of June. I still need to then have the pedestrian committee review it, have a suggestion. I need to have the bid board look at it and get their input on it. But I ideally like to have something for the public by June. If we can move fast enough to actually implement something this summer, I would absolutely love that. I do want there to be a trial phase where we put it in, we take a look at it, and then we pull it back and give people a chance to look at it, kind of like they did with the scooters, like Mike did with the scooters. You put them in, take it out, get people's feedback. I think that will be create an element of trust so that people aren't thinking we're just railroading them and putting in what we want and not taking their concerns seriously. I really want to get buy-in from as many people as possible on this, because I think in the long term, that will be more successful. Ideally, if we can take this and really just somehow figure out the financial aspect, and by the way, the bid's paying for all of this, to do some long-term improvements on the street that really strongly change it. It's not just barricades, but long-term improvements. That would be ideal. We've had too many deaths. There are too many problems. Things have been tried for over a decade now that have not come to fruition. And that's kind of why I went with this, what some people have termed the nuclear option, is just, let's do this. Let's look at it. We've talked about this long enough. One of the people that I consult with on a regular basis is a woman in her mid-70s. She's spent her entire life on Brady Street. Her family has owned the building for over 100 years. The idea of pedestrianization and safety on Brady is not new. I'm just the one who kind of like said, let's do this. Let's look at it. It's important. We've exhausted all the other options. It's time.
I've got a question in the chat here. What if the suggestions are things like movable bollards or concrete that can't be taken back?
That would be the sort of thing that once we knew that the concept worked, then I would find the funding for that sort of thing, where it would be, we're going to have to start off with something that's a bit more, that is movable, just to get people's head around the idea and retrain people on how to interact with that area. The street's 175 years old. If we're going to change 175 years worth of thought patterns, we're going to have to start with something that's movable. But I would absolutely be in favor of the bollards, just because you can move them up and down. It's quite easy. That was a big part of what was going on in England. It was the bollards everywhere. That's a really easy solution without looking at the mechanical aspect of it and our weather and the financial, just thinking about it. Intellectually, it seems like the easy solution.
Anybody else with any questions, comments?
This is Mitchell. I just wanted to say I appreciate the approach to trying something temporary and kind of getting feedback from everybody. You've involved a lot of smart people, so I'm glad to see that, and I look forward to it.
Thank you. Thank you.
So,
Well, I was just gonna say, I guess my question would be what can the bicycle or the pedestrian and bicycle committee do to help this process or to support you? Or what are you looking for from the committee?
One of the things that would be really, really wonderful, this is something I've been considering doing myself, but after talking to Jonathan this morning, and by the way, Jonathan says hello, is one of the things I'm noticing when I talk to people is a lack of understanding of what is pedestrianization. They assume that it means shutting the entire street down and there's no cars forever or any kind of transportation, and quite the opposite. There's multiple levels of pedestrianization that can be introduced. What I think would be great and would be if you would consider writing a paper that is not an academic paper, but a paper for the masses that talks about what is pedestrianization, what are the levels of pedestrianization, so that people can start getting the education they need to understand these things so that they're not having that visceral reaction to it when they hear the word. It's an emotional reaction, and this is not an emotional thing. It's actually quite logical, and I can have those individual conversations, but if there was a wider way for people to access that information, understand it, that would be extraordinarily helpful. I would help provide information, although I want to make sure that, I understand if credibility is an issue and you need to be impartial, that I totally respect that. But I think it's something that could be really helpful in gaining more understanding and support for these types of efforts around the city. That's really the main thing I'm seeing is people do not understand it. They don't have the experience with it. And that's, yeah, I can't take people to Europe like I'd like to show them around. So yeah, it's kind of how do I bring that to them? If that would be something you'd be interested in. And I can talk to, if that's not something you're interested in, I understand. But that kind of education would be very helpful. So that we have the terminology down and the understanding.
Is that something that you think the communications and public or whatever that small, yeah, you could send that to them and then they could write something and present that to you, the board, or to the committee next meeting?
yeah, I think we would start with the conversation with you in our work group. So what he's referring to is our partnership and communication into work group.
Okay.
So yeah, I think if you would be up to it,
Absolutely.
we can have a conversation. Yeah,
Yeah, I'd be very interested in that.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that would help a great deal. And I think that'll help anybody else's efforts to try to change things in the city, is that education is a huge hump to get over. I hear a lot of, I'm not going to say ignorant, but really way off the mark reactions to some of these stuff. And I can't go and, as much as I want to run to people and have that conversation, I'm not always able to do that as one person. So accessible information would be useful.
Absolutely. I'm not sure how we have not met before because this is the type of person we need in Milwaukee. We need more of you in Milwaukee. Just everything you've said, you've hit on every point. I so want to see it as a group, this body, to get to a point where we're all speaking that language. So you hit on storytelling, you use your own personal experiences, your own narrative. You have an understanding of building coalitions, not just the people who already get it. You don't have to convince us of any of this. But the people who are super opposed to you, you understand that they have to be involved. They have to have a seat at the table. Educating people, we didn't all go to Europe like you did, like some of us have. So how do we translate that, what we're seeing, we know works and we know it's possible, where it's cold. How do we translate that? How do we communicate that to people who they're not ignorant, you just don't know what you don't know. You haven't seen it, so you don't know what's possible. Right. How do we get to a point where we're like that? That's what I want this group to be. Thank you very much. I'm you're my hero. You are it. I want to be oh man, she gets it. So thank you for being here. Yeah, so I do I do think, we should have a future conversation. So with our strategic partnership and communication, I think that'd be a great place for which you're asking of the group to start. So we can talk after. I have your email, I think, or.
Executive director, I have a card I can give you.
Sure.
Yeah.
So we can get in contact and then we
That'd be
can get set up with the work group. So what we do have on the agenda is a letter. We can vote on it if we want. My thought, so we crafted a letter of support of the study.
Oh, excellent.
So my thought is, do we need a letter of support? The study is already ongoing. We don't have to convince anybody. So I want to be mindful of like what we're presenting to people. And I don't want us to become a committee of just a bunch of letters going out. I want us to, if we're sending something out, like it's necessary, we vetted it out, it's thorough, it's thoughtful. Not that the letter Mitch wasn't very thorough and thoughtful, but if it was a question of, here's the recommendations, and then we have to take it to council, whoever would need to approve it, then at that point, I think the letter would be appropriate, because then we need public buy-in and public input. But right now, I think we need to have an input on the already ongoing study that would support the study that's already happening.
Totally agree.
Can I just add here though? Because what I'm hearing here is the bid took this on as a project of its own.
Mm-hmm.
There's no public resources in it,
Correct.
So while maybe a letter in support of this particular study isn't necessary, but the notion that maybe the committee could think about supporting other groups that are willing to put the time in to make their own committees, to engage, to do that community engagement, making sure that this committee is supportive of that and encouraging that might, does that make sense? Have it be more of a generic, not for this particular Brady Street study, but, encouraging people to really get involved in their own space. Just a thought.
Okay.
Just the more we can do with private resources, the more we can do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe I think that is an avenue that we can explore. This committee has, very little time because, we're volunteering. So how do we identify and partner with the groups like the Brady Street Bid? People who have staff and resources who are already doing the work that we can partner and support. I think that would be a world that we could be looking at and exploring. I think that'd be a good fit for our capacity and our knowledge and our skill set for this group. But we do have this letter before us. My plan was to vote on this letter if we want to send it off in support, which we can take a vote on it. I think would be appropriate because it's on the agenda.
Montavious, sorry, I've got a hand raised from Mike.
Brother Mike, what's up?
Hey everyone, just two things. One, I think there was a comment in the chat that should probably be addressed before you vote on anything. And two, Montavious, you just said, I just wanted to clarify one thing. You had mentioned when you talked about writing letters of support, getting council approval. I don't know exactly what you meant by that, but, and Kathy, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't believe if you all want to write letters of support for things, it doesn't have to go through council. I think you would just write the letter and it would go to Rachel or whoever it may be directly. Is that fair to say, Kathy?
Correct. I mean, depending on who you address the letter to, the letter will go, like, let's say you write a letter to the council. It will go to the council, but it's not like it's going to appear at a committee. There's not going to be like a meeting about it. Typically what happens, those kinds of communications, they go to the council and then the council places them on file. And I think it's a communication file that has all of those sorts of things. So if someone were to go looking for it, they would see that, yes, there was this letter to the council, but it's not like it takes up a lot of council's time or that you have to like make a presentation at a committee.
Yeah.
It doesn't go through that sort of thing. It just gets, it goes to the council and it gets placed in the folder where it belongs. And then just, it's a matter of record is what it is.
Or even, I was thinking even like, if it went to Rachel directly, like if and when there is a council action on the Brady Street pedestrianization project, that letter could just be attached to that file at that point. and Rachel in the bid could then say like, this is part of our presentation, our package is we have support from X, Y, and Z groups. Is that another approach?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so I agree with all that, and that makes sense. That's not what I said, so if I was unclear, I was saying when pedestrianizing Brady Street comes up before council, at that point, we should submit our letter. Not that
Got
we
it,
should
got it,
submit a
okay.
letter
Cool.
for council.
Yeah, I misunderstood you. I wanted to make it, I just didn't want people to think you had to get council support or approval to do things. Okay.
No, we can send out as many letters as we want. Somebody in the chat had a comment or question.
Yeah, I've got, I think this is regarding the like paper or communication, about what pedestrianization is. Got a question, is that not something that the contracted firms will provide?
I would like it to come from, well, first from somebody who's not getting paid to produce it. I think that that's an important part of making sure that it's got some grit behind it, and it comes across as more authentic. And when that's another reason why I don't want the bid to do it, because I don't want to somehow people thinking, oh, she's just advocating for something that's going to help her. That's not the case. This isn't about the bid, and this isn't about TKW or GRAFE. This is about having this idea be introduced around the city for other people to enjoy as well. So kind of getting everybody on the same page. So that's my thought process behind it. I don't want anybody who's going to profit from it to be associated with it.
So to be clear then, the suggested paper for pedestrianization would be a general one that wouldn't necessarily directly talk about the Brady Street situation, but more in general talk about what are the benefits of pedestrianization for the city of Milwaukee as a whole.
That would be great. I think that would be perfect, as well as what it is and the benefits to it. Because I can see this working out in some of our communities that are really, really disadvantaged and are in desperate need of rehab. They're in a perfect place to be able to institute some of this stuff. Even better than Brady Street. And I can see that being a really positive thing. So no, I don't think it needs to be about Brady Street at all. Obviously, it's going to benefit us because it'll help people understand what we're doing, but that's not the end. That's not to its end. It's for everybody. That's what's important to me.
Yeah, I think this would be good for the communications work group. Okay.
I have a follow-up question.
Sure.
Sorry, really quick. The contract with GRAF and TKWA, do they have any engagement like written into that contract, or are they just producing this plan that will be available in May?
They are going to be providing us with the information we requested. Jonathan and I decided that we wanted to do the community engagement because we're the ones that are on the ground with the community, and we wanted it to come from us directly. And we also want to be able to talk the language and we know deeply the issues of the residents and the businesses. We want to be able to speak to that, which TKWA and GRAFE can't do on the same level. So we've asked them to provide us with this specific information so that we can discuss those issues intelligently and with concrete information to the residents.
Okay. Any other comments? Can we put this to a vote on the letter? Hope everyone had a chance to read the letter.
Okay, vote to approve the letter.
Yep, a motion. Do we have a motion or a motion on whether it's to approve or to deny the letters for supporting the Brady Street pedestrianization study? I move to deny the letter. That's the correct language.
Or reject.
Reject.
I'll second. This is Mitchell.
And Mitch is the author of the letter. Hearing no objections to that. So not ordered. Whatever the opposite of ordered is. Okay, so we're not sending a letter. Thank you for that, guys. Though we are in full support of the study,
Of course.
and we're excited to see what comes out from TKW and Gray, the recommendations. Then hopefully we can have you back
That would be
at that
great.
time,
Be
so we
happy
can know how we can support, the next step, which is convincing them.
Yeah, lots of people.
Yeah, lots of people.
Yeah. Thank you very much for inviting me. I really appreciate it and getting a chance to talk with you about this. It means a lot to me to get your support. I just see a lot of good things happening, and I just want to, if I can be a little bit of that help, that would really make me happy, make me feel content with my life, quite honestly. So
Thank you.
I'm going to give you my card if
Okay,
that's okay
sure.
before I leave.
Okay, Mary, what's next on the agenda?
Discussion of the cities, or discussion on the raise grant application support letter.
Okay, are you gonna talk about that or Mike?
I'm happy to talk about it. So we are resubmitting a grant application for the Villard Avenue RAISE project. RAISE stands for Rebuilding, I want to make sure I get it, Rebuilding American Infrastructure with Sustainability and Equity. It's a federal discretionary grant. We applied for this last year for Villard Avenue, just enhancing the corridor with protected bike lanes, bump outs, just trying to enhance the economic vitality and just cohesiveness of the corridor. So we are submitting this. We didn't win it last year. We are revamping it based on comments from the USDOT this year, and we are resubmitting at the end of the month. So we would love to have feedback support with a letter. Yeah, that's what we're looking for.
Can you just describe the improvements on Village Street that we would expect to see?
Sure. So we've got protected bike lanes, things like bump outs. It's kind of goes hand in hand with some land use improvements, I guess. Just looking at kind of reuse or repurposing some brownfield development. So kind of it takes into account the transportation and land use aspect along Villard Avenue, if that helps answer your question.
Is there sorry if you answered this already, is there a city match?
We are going for 100% federal funding for this one. We tried for a city match last year, but this year we're going all in on federal funds. Oh, got a hand raised. Yes, Selena?
Yeah, what was the feedback that you got from DOT last round of applications, and then how did you alter based on that feedback?
Yeah, good question. A lot of the things that we were hearing honestly just sounded like we needed to either reorganize or re-clarify some things. They were wanting to hear more about equity pieces or brownfield development, which we all, as the team who's working on it, know that this project is strong in those pieces, but I think we just needed to be able to communicate that a bit better. And there were a couple of other smaller pieces, touching on a couple different specific topics that they're looking for, as a DOT in this grant program. But it was helpful for us to get that feedback, and we're focusing on those pieces as we kind of revamp this.
Okay, anything else from anyone?
I would like to point out that the Department of City Development does support this initiative.
Are you guys involved at all?
Amy Oath is, yes.
I've read the letter and it all sounds really exciting. I was just wondering, is there, beyond just looking at a general city map, is there any kind of other visual documents to kind of see the plans?
Yes, yeah. I can share some of those with you if you'd like. That was also a bit of feedback that we had received, is that I think just more visuals are going to help our application a bit more. But if you'd like to see those, I'm happy to.
Sure, and I don't
share
want to
with
hold
you.
up if everyone else wants to move forward, but yeah, I'd love to see them.
Perfect.
I would say too, this project really comes out of some other kind of community-based planning, and kind of very preliminary high-level conceptual plans, design plans. So, Caroline Eswine from UW Milwaukee, her community design solutions course, or, they did a project with the Villard Avenue bid a couple years back that actually developed some pretty great conceptual plans that show exactly what we're looking for, and that's all publicly. You can find that online very easily. I mean, obviously we can send it to you too, but that's really where the impetus of this project came from. A lot of that work that started from the community and the bid itself. So you'll see exactly what we're proposing in that CDS Community Design Solutions report that they prepared.
Okay, seeing no more hands or questions, do we have a motion to approve signing a letter of support for the raise grant for Villard Avenue?
I'll move to approve the letter. This is Mitch.
A second.
Hearing no objections, so ordered. I think you sent it to me. Could you do you guys do DocuSign at the city?
I don't know. We don't do DocuSign. But I can, do we send it to you in a
PDF, I
PDF?
can just
Okay, cool.
download it and digital sign it.
Okay, cool. I actually might have sent it in a Word document, but I'm happy to send it in PDF as well. Thank you.
Do you all have you have the letterhead, right? Yeah. So if you just put it on the letterhead, that'd be great. Otherwise we can do that too.
Yep, we have it.
Okay, great.
Okay. Moving on.
Discussion on work groups.
Work groups, yes. Okay. So I've been very encouraged from the emails I've seen going back and forth on the work groups. I haven't been able to attend any. I was out for a while last month. I understand that. Do we have anyone who attended the last? We'll start with communications work group. Do you have anyone from that group who attended the last meeting on right now?
Yes.
Oh.
For strategic partnerships and communications.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I was there and Adon was there as well. And Larissa was at the meeting, and then we also had Kevin. I can't remember his last name right now, but there were two Kevins in the group. We brainstormed on what this work group could look like. Decided that we were gonna be creating a sort of database of organizations that the Pedestrian Bicycle Advisory Committee could reach out to involve them in our efforts, to pedestrianize the city of Milwaukee a lot more. We also were going to create a sort of standard template for a letter that we would send out to these groups. We only met once. We were trying to meet twice before this meeting, but we'll be moving forward going from there. And I understand that you as well will be joining our group, so that's wonderful.
Yeah. Do you guys have a meeting cadence?
I'm sorry?
A meeting cadence, like how often you guys are gonna meet?
No, we have not set that up yet.
Okay, yeah, so thank you for that. So something you pointed out, figuring out what this work group's gonna look like and setting some goals and some plans ahead of time. I think it's gonna be really important not only for this group, but for all the work groups. So what I want to see happen with the work groups are like some smart goals for, the year, something that we can use this committee for a report back to, feedback, we need support on this. This is where we're looking at, this is where we're getting stuck. These are the people we've been connecting with. So we can all have, one, a better understanding of what the work groups are doing, so we can all speak the same language, because people don't know which work groups we're a part of, but they're gonna ask us, hey, what's going on with the pedestrian bike advisory committee, so we should all be able to have the language and know what's going on with each work group. So I don't want us to ignore or be unaware of what's going on with the various work groups. But I also want us to be able to come to these meetings and report out what's going on, because I think it's going to go a long way towards our credibility as a group if we have goals that we, hey, this is what we said we're going to do, and this is what we accomplished. This is the steps we're taking to achieve these goals. And what I don't want to see, which I think we had this issue with the task force, was one, we were very reactive. Things came to us and we reacted to them. We weren't putting out items. We were responding to complete streets, or responding to X, Y, and Z. I want us to be ahead of the curve, and we're out here offering suggestions. We're out there. Our name is known amongst the community, so we should be a known group to the alder people. They should know who we are. So if they're getting a letter from us for anything, they shouldn't be like, who is this person, or who is this group? So I also want us to be able to bring to them our accomplishments and our goals. Say, how can we better support what's going on in your community based on what we're doing? Or how can the needs of your community influence and dictate what we're trying to accomplish? Because we want to be partners. We want to be, I want us to be seen as valued partners, not people who just send out letters every once in a while. I want us to be involved, highly involved, and ingratiate into the communities that we are trying to serve. And I think we need to, be able to have some tangible outcomes to bolster that goal. So yes, good. So I don't know if all the groups have met yet. We'll see as we go through the discussion. But I want all of us to be thinking about that.
I think the strategic partnerships and communications work group is on the same page with that. I think that's the idea with the outreach to the community groups. Get our name out there, let them know that this is a citizen-run committee, and that this is to advocate for safer streets for not just certain sections of the city, but the entire city as a whole. By doing that, I think the goal will be
We lost audio.
Yeah, we lost volume.
Thank you.
There you are.
Guys now? Okay,
Yep.
sorry about that.
Sorry. Did you guys hear Kevin's point? You guys, Parkland.
You cut out for a
okay.
couple
So
seconds.
the goal, I think, of the strategic partnerships and communications work group so far seems to be in line with what Montavious was saying, in that we're trying to do outreach to different community organizations, so that it's understood that the Pedestrian and Bicycle Advisory Committee is, a citizen-run group, and that it is trying to advocate for the city as a whole, not just certain sections of the city. And by being known within the community, we'll be able to get better recognition throughout the actual city as well. So through the alders, the different departments, et cetera.
Okay, anybody else from that work group? Okay, has the policy work group met yet? Anna, Larissa, Aaron, Kathy, Helena, and Steven. Have you been appointed?
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, yeah?
no policy meeting yet, I didn't hear anything.
Yeah, I can do it.
Okay. Are you on the board yet? On the?
Yeah.
Maybe, oh, okay. Mayor approved all that?
Right.
Okay, cool. Okay, but you guys are all connected to each other? Have you guys communicated, not just you two, but the work group, have you guys heard anything from?
I haven't heard anything yet. No, we have not connected.
Okay. I would encourage you all who are on that work group to get connected soon. Start high-level discussions just as the strategic communications partnership work group has. If you guys need help, I'm more than happy to join the meetings or coordinate a meeting if you need me to. Okay, has the projects work group met yet? Actually, I know because I'm on that group. We have not. Okay. Okay, well, this is a good point then. So we have 2 work groups that have not met yet. So that means, items aren't being attended to. So, what can we do? What needs to be done? Is it simply a matter of email, getting these meetings set up so we can start meeting? Or is there something else that needs to happen?
So what the strategic partnerships and communications work group did was sent out a doodle poll almost immediately after the last meeting to organize itself. I think it might be useful to assign someone to send out that poll from each of those groups, sort of like a captain initially, and then they can decide who wants to be the organizer from there. It was decided from us that Larissa was going to be the organizer moving forward. So maybe assigning someone to be the starter of the group, like to convene the group initially, that might help get things moving. It's almost like calling 911, when someone's injured, you're like, someone called 911, but everyone assumes that somebody else is going to do it.
Yeah.
So maybe assigning someone specifically, that might help.
Okay. That's a good point. I can take on the projects work group, send out a doodle poll. There is one spot open on that work group, as is there. I believe there's still one spot on the strategic partnership and communications work group. Work groups are open to anyone, not just people on the committee, but open to the public. So you don't have to be a member of the committee. I saw a comment in the.
Yeah, we've got Roger asking if the work groups could be listed on the committee's webpage, perhaps with a contact. And then Alina is saying that she can send a doodle for policies.
Cool. Thank you for that, Alina. And can we be listed on the webpage? I think that's something for us to discuss with DPW because we don't run the webpage. And I believe the webpage still says task force. I don't think it's been updated to say advisory committee. So maybe this is something we need to talk about, or maybe we just ask you guys.
We did update the website. It should be updated to PBAC, but yeah, we'll continue to update.
Okay. Do you think this would be appropriate to have on there a list of the work groups and maybe contact info for the?
I think so. Yeah, I don't see any reason not to. I'll look into it, but yeah, I think so.
Okay, awesome. Okay, I believe last meeting, you guys voted on the letter for this relates to targeted improvement work group. You guys voted on the letter regarding Howell Avenue and slip lanes and dangerous speeds down there. So thank you for that, Mitch. I think that's a great example of targeted improvements. Work groups, could you let us know if that came out of the work group or if this was something that you guys already just had on your minds and hearts to do, and how this example can influence what you're going to do going forward. And I say this because there's all kind of like, what is the process for deciding which target improvements you guys are going to focus on? Because, you know, there's 100,000, you know, target improvements out there that could be made. What's the process that you guys are, if you guys have already met, if you haven't met, like how would you think through deciding which letters you would support? And I've got some follow-up comments after that, but I want to understand this first.
Yeah, we haven't met. That letter was kind of written in advance of the last meeting, just kind of between, or I was the author. And I think part of it was just to kind of get an understanding of how we might communicate suggestions we make going forward, both for target improvements and others. I think in the future, yes, and we mentioned at the last meeting, like you could find thousands, tens of thousands of targeted improvements to make in the city. And so it's not really feasible to go one by one for us. And so I think, to me, we'd be finding like bigger things. I've heard the city is working on identifying which slip lanes could be closed, which is exciting to hear. And that's the kind of broader impact kind of things I would hope that we could kind of support and work to identify, rather than kind of going intersection by intersection.
Okay, is there something in the chat now, or is that all?
We do have something in the chat, so we've got, oh, no, that was it.
Oh, okay. Thank you for that feedback, Mitch. I wonder if there is like an organizing principle that the group, first of all, has to, you guys said you haven't met yet, or you've already had the first, you haven't met? Okay. Can we get somebody to send out the doodle poll for that one? It's been Mitch.
Yeah.
Mitch, you said you'll do it?
Yep.
Okay, thank you very much. So we'll get that started. And then, so as you're thinking through it, is there a way, organizing principle that would help you decide which target improvements to go after, whether that be, you know, we want to look at slip lanes for the next year. We want to look at the area plans and see what has already been, you know, thought through, has already, you know, been proposed to do, but hasn't been done yet. Can we push on those to get those done? Is it that you want to tackle something in each automating district? Like, is there an organizing principle you guys could use to decide? Because I think we're going to have to be able to narrow down so we can come up with, you know, working on these 5, 10, you know, targeted improvements. And we're going to do the research necessary to understand why it is, why hasn't this slip lane been closed? You know, we're going to talk to DPW first to better understand, you know, what are the limitations? Are there any limitations? And it just hasn't been done. You know, does this fire truck need to have the slip lane because it can't turn, you know, 85 degrees backwards coming off of KK, or excuse me, off of, what's the Howell? So I want us to be able to, you know, when we make suggestions for target improvement, we've already done our research. And again, I think that goes to our credibility. You know, if it comes back that no, but slip lane hasn't been closed because we can't close it because fire truck needs it. I want us to, before we even put anything in front of the public, especially an older person, we've already vetted it. We've already thought it through. We've talked to DPW, so we're not talking at DPW. Like DPW, we see the slip lane, is there a reason we can't close this? Oh yeah, because X, Y, Z, or yes, we just haven't done enough money, it's in the plan. So then we might not even need to send a letter. But I want us to, you know, back up whatever recommendations we've made with research and outreach and, you know, thoroughness and thoughtfulness. Not that that wasn't very thoughtful already, but I want us to be able to have that level of thoroughness for each one that you guys tackle.
And if you'd like support from DCD on understanding what the different area plans and stuff are, please feel free to reach out to me directly.
Will do. Thank you. Yeah, I think in terms of the overall plan, that probably have to meet first and kind of talk about how we want to approach it.
Absolutely.
And I would say too, it's, specific to slip lanes, make sure you reach out to us right away. We're doing a lot of work on that too, so to avoid duplicating efforts. But yeah, we're more than happy to help out.
Yeah, I've heard. I'm very, very excited. I'm glad. Thank you.
Okay, awesome. Also, can I just give a shout out to Mitch? Mitch writes all the letters. Mitch is the one who's pushing me. What's going on with this? Mitch is the one who's been following up on the letters he's written. So thank you very much, Mitch, for all the hard work you do for the committee. Like, does not go unnoticed, at least by me. I'm hoping the rest of your group sees it too. Like, thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, any other comments? Questions? Again, anybody who is on this call that is not part of a work group, there is space capacity in the work group unless it's full for a committee member. We might be on capacity for committee members on work groups, but I don't think there's a capacity for a work group for non-voting committee members. So if you're interested, involved in this, then please contact myself, Mike, anybody on the committee really, and they'll get it back to one of us. And then we can plug you in wherever you want to be plugged in and get you connected.
Let me just confirm one thing. I'm trying to pull up the work group assignments. Okay, yeah, you're right. So there's one open spot on projects and one on strategic partnerships.
And when it says one open spot, that means one open committee member?
Correct. One open voting committee member spot.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, I think we have a good plan in place going forward. If any of the committee members want me to join, or if any of the work groups wants me to join, I'm more than happy to sit in, help out wherever I can. Please use me as a resource. I'm here at your service. So next agenda item, I think, is open discussion. So if you have, just open to the public as well. If you want to come off mute or put in the chat. Just open discussion, thoughts, concerns, stuff going on in the community that we should be aware of. This is the time to bring that to our attention.
Got a hand raised.
Hi, Mary Beth.
Yeah, I'm sure there's other things, but just one thing that comes to mind. I think on March 13th, TMJ4 is hosting their first of 4 reckless driving listening town halls. I think that one's going to be at Marquette, and they're going to be across the rest of the city too. Just, putting it out there and thinking about if that's also another space to be communicating with the public. But there will also be other opportunities for that if the March 13th is too soon. So just to make sure the committee knew about those.
And sorry, Mary Beth, when did you say that was?
Sorry, what was the question?
When did you say that was?
March 13th. If you go on Marquette's website, it's like on the Lou Bar Center. That's who is hosting that first one. So you can also find it there.
Great, thank you.
Is that something that the Pedestrian Bicycle Advisory Committee could put on their website as well? Or is that something that we don't do?
I don't see why not.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
to be honest, I'm sure we could. I don't want to overpromise in terms of what we can do to keep things up to date at this point.
Kathy, yeah. It might be a capacity issue for DPW to make these updates, but it's like a legal issue for us to promote
I
a
don't see,
private event.
no, I don't see any reason why you couldn't. I mean, as long as you would list it under just, information as opposed to official, this isn't official city policy, as long as you're just making it clear that these are public opportunities or something like that. I don't see any reason why you couldn't post stuff like that. And in fact, the more things that you can post like that makes you be the go-to place, which gets your name out there, which.
Well, I'm wondering if it wouldn't be easier just to have a link to a separate web page or something like that, just for all of the events that the committee wants to endorse. Because that way that DPW doesn't have a loop in it. You guys just click a link on our web page and go automatically to events page for us. Somebody in the committee can keep it up after the meeting instead of somebody at DPW contacting IT or something. Okay, we need to change the website.
Yeah, that sounds good. The only thing that concerned me there was the word endorse. I think you, as a committee, you should be careful about what you're officially endorsing as opposed to just putting out there for information. Because endorsing implies that you know about it and, because there may be any number of public events that go badly or, take unexpected turns that you don't necessarily want to say, yeah, this is what we support. It's just making sure that it's clear that it's public information, just for informative purposes. But yeah, having a separate website would be.
Okay, thank you for that, Mary Beth. Brother Mitch.
I was gonna say the separate website doesn't sound like a bad idea. If anybody is interested, send me an email. Maybe get that together.
Mitch, are you saying, wasn't understanding what you were recommending?
If we wanted to have a separate website to kind of have more frequent updates for things like work group membership or events or whatever, I think it could be useful if that's something that we wanted to pursue. I'd be happy to help.
Yeah, let me, I mean, honestly, I think that'd be great. I don't know, how that would interplay with our website, but yes, I would support that. I think y'all can probably do a much better job than we can around keeping websites up to date.
Sure. Maybe we could just do a Facebook page.
Yeah, and maybe just for clarity, I mean, I mostly wanted to say as a heads up, I think it's good that they're doing that. I still think it's sort of it's being in process. So I think they're also open maybe still to if there are other voices that should be heard. My understanding is it's mostly going to be elected officials who are not going to be just talking at length, but more interactive with a substantial amount of people from the public. So the committee can do whatever it wants with that, but I think that from my perspective, it would be welcome to have other voices who are not only elected officials, but are thinking specifically around how bike and ped issues interact with reckless driving. So that's mostly why I wanted to bring it up as well. It's another opportunity to interact directly with the public.
Anybody else? Okay, hearing nothing else, I think we can move to adjourn the meeting. Thank you all for being here, and be looking out for me for the policies, the project work group, a doodle. I'm trying to get that out today. And if the other people who have agreed, volunteered to send out their polls, could you also do that today too? That'd be awesome. You have time? I see head nods. Thank you very much. Okay, cool. Yeah, thanks everybody for joining the meeting. I hope you all have a good rest of your day. Have a good weekend. Cover your sidewalks, please. Don't forget those curb cuts.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all.
All right. Bye. Thanks. Bye.
Peace.